So, you know what the most depressing day of the year is, statistically speaking.
Let me guess. Right around the time the holiday credit card bills show up in the mail.
I mean, that's part of it, definitely.
Hmm.
But it's usually the third Monday in January. They actually call it Blue Monday.
Yeah, that's the exact day the whole New Year, New Me energy just officially dies, right?
Exactly. You know the drill. You're the listener who uh, buys the expensive running shoes on January 1st. You stock the fridge with kale. You get this massive surge motivation.
And then by that third Monday, the shoes are gathering dust in the closet, the kale is just wilting in the crisper drawer, and you are right back on the couch.
Right. And it's so frustrating because the intention was real. Like, you didn't lie to yourself on January 1st. You genuinely wanted to get healthy.
But something happens in that gap, that space between wanting it and actually doing it.
Yeah, and that gap is exactly what we're looking at today. In the source material we're diving into, there is a very specific, almost clinical name for that phenomenon. They call it drift,
Drift. It sounds so harmless, like a boat just gently floating down a lazy river.
which is exactly why it's so dangerous. It's subtle. The material we have defines drift as having the desire for change, but lacking the measurement to keep it on track.
So it's not a sudden crash, it's just a slow erosion of your intent because you don't have a compass.
Spot on. And that concept, drift versus measurement, that is the centerpiece of what we are unpacking in today's deep dive.
And we have some really fascinating source material for this.
We do. We're looking at a proposal from Nate Scott. He's the author of a book called Life is Rich. And he's pitching this concept called the 90-Day Measurable Transformation Initiative.
Now, before anyone tunes out thinking we're just reviewing, another workout app or a fad diet plan, we really need to clarify what this actually is.
Right, because this is not a consumer product.
Exactly. It's a B2B proposal, business to business. It is a strategic framework designed specifically for community leaders to implement with their people.
And when we say community leaders, we are not talking about gym owners or personal trainers. We are talking about pastors.
Right.
We're talking about CPAs, financial advisors, HR directors.
Which, that seems like a massive mismatch at first glance. Why on earth is my accountant worried about my cholesterol?
It sounds crazy.
It does. But when you dig into Scott's philosophy in the proposal, it makes perfect sense. It's all about asset management.
We are definitely going to get into the why of the accountant connection later because that part completely blew my mind. But let's stick with the core philosophy first. Nate Scott's big claim here is that transformation without measurement is just inspiration.
That is the bumper sticker right there. But the implications of that are pretty deep when you think about how we normally approach health. It's very vibes-based.
Vibes-based wellness. I like that.
It's true, though. You ask someone how their new diet is going, and they say, well, I feel pretty good. Or, my pants feel a little looser.
It's entirely subjective.
Right. And the proposal identifies this as a hidden problem in the market. It cites that 80% of people want better health. So the desire is there. But fewer than 20% actually track measurable change.
So the vast majority of us are just operating on pure hope.
We hope the salad we ate for lunch magically offsets the 4 hours of sleep we got last night. But we don't actually know.
We're guessing.
Exactly. Scott argues that you have to convert that vague desire into measurable proof. You have to move away from subjective feelings and get to objective data.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. Objective data sounds amazing in a corporate boardroom, but for a regular person just trying to get in shape, isn't that incredibly intimidating?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, measurable proof sounds like I'm being graded.
You are being graded. That is the whole point. And yes, it is terrifying. The proposal actually acknowledges that fear. But think about it in any other context of your life.
Yeah.
If you went to a financial advisor and said, I feel like I have enough money for retirement, they wouldn't just high-five you and say, great job.
No, they'd ask for your statements.
They demand to see the bank statements. They
Right.
need the hard numbers, even if those numbers are scary to look at.
Because you can't manage what you don't measure.
Precisely. And that leads us right into the actual structure of this 90-day initiative. It's not just, hey, try really hard for 3 months. It's a strict 3-phase system designed to completely eliminate that wiggle room.
Let's walk through those phases. So phase 1 is called the baseline.
This is weeks 1 and 2. And this is where the vibes die. This isn't taking a before selfie in your bathroom mirror. This involves Comprehensive lab work.
We're talking needles here.
We're talking full blood panels. You are looking at biomarkers, glucose levels, lipid profiles, inflammation markers, blood pressure. You're getting a real look under the hood.
Scott calls this drawing a line in the sand.
Because it stops the drift immediately. You can lie to yourself about how energetic you feel, but you cannot argue with a fasting glucose reading of 110.
That's just math.
It creates immediate urgency. It shifts your whole mindset from, I should probably lose a few pounds, to my body is currently in a state of active inflammation and I need a turnaround strategy.
It treats the human body like a failing asset that needs intervention.
Exactly. So you get the bad news or the good news in phase 1, and then you move right into phase 2, which is implementation.
Weeks 3 through 10.
This is the grind. But again, it's not loose. It's highly structured. The proposal outlines structured supplementation, daily habits, and weekly check-ins. They call it discipline tracking.
So you aren't just broadly trying to be healthy. You are actively ticking boxes every day.
Did you take the supplements? Did you do the movement protocol? Yes or no?
It's accountability through data points.
Right. And then comes the payoff, phase 3, weeks 11 through 13, the measurement phase.
You go back to the lab.
You go back to the lab. You get retested.
Yeah.
And this is crucial. The success of the program is not based on a survey asking if you feel better.
The success is the delta.
Yes. The difference between the phase 1 numbers and the phase 3 numbers.
That is just fascinating to me. It's essentially an ROI report on your own body. Like, I invested 90 days of discipline, and here is the literal return in lowered triglycerides.
And that ROI language is exactly why this whole thing is pitched to business leaders and financial professionals. It speaks their language perfectly.
But there is another layer to the mechanics here that we really have to touch on, because the proposal specifically says this initiative is for 20-plus households.
Yeah, that's a very specific requirement.
Why that number? Why not just sell this directly to individuals? If I want to fix my glucose, let me just buy the kit online.
Because of what the author calls community momentum, the analysis in the text suggests that doing this in isolation is just too hard for most people. The drift is way too strong when you're alone.
You just quietly quit and nobody notices.
Exactly. But when you have a tribe of 20, 30, or 40 people all going to the lab, all waiting for their results at the exact same time, it completely changes the behavioral psychology.
It's shared suffering and shared victory.
And massive peer accountability. If you know your neighbor is sticking to the discipline tracking, you are way less likely to flake out. But here's the kicker. From the leader's perspective, the person actually buying this program for their community, that 20-plus households requirement offers something huge.
Aggregated outcome data.
Yes.
Explain that a bit more. What does the leader actually get at the end of the 90 days?
Okay, imagine you're a pastor or a CEO. You run a generic wellness challenge for your staff or congregation. Usually at the end of it, you just get anecdotes. People say, hey, thanks, I really like that health initiative.
Which is nice, but it's totally soft data.
With this program, the leader receives a fully anonymized report of the entire group's metrics. They can see the exact participation rates, the adherence percentages, and the collective health improvement.
Wow.
They can literally stand up at a meeting and say, as a community, we lowered our collective cholesterol by 15%.
That is incredibly powerful. It turns a nice idea into a proven result. I think the proposal calls it documented impact.
It validates the leader's authority completely. They aren't just giving good advice anymore, they are delivering verifiable results. And honestly, that brings us to the most interesting part of this deep dive for me.
The target audiences.
The target audience.
Because this is where the proposal takes a sharp left turn. If I'm pitching a health and wellness challenge, my first calls are to CrossFit gyms. I'm calling nutritionists.
But Nate Scott is calling CPAs.
And pastors.
Let's start with the pastors, because that's fascinating.
I mean, I guess I can see the whole body as a temple angle, but pitching a blood lab health challenge to a church feels a bit utilitarian, doesn't it?
I think Scott would argue that it's fundamentally about stewardship. The proposal actually uses the term measurable discipleship.
Measurable discipleship. Man, that is a loaded term.
It really is. But think about the pastor's role. They are responsible for the well-being of their flock. Usually that's interpreted strictly as spiritual well-being. But if the flock is physically falling apart, if they are chronically sick, constantly tired, dying early from preventable lifestyle diseases, that severely limits their spiritual capacity.
So the core argument is basically you can't serve effectively if you're dead.
Bluntly, yes. By bringing in objective measurement, the pastor reinforces the idea that caring for the physical temple isn't just vanity.
It's a discipline.
A spiritual discipline that can be tracked, just like prayer or tithing or attendance. It grounds their theology in actual biology.
Okay, I'm tracking with you there, but now you have to sell me on the financial advisors and CPAs, because I go to my CPA to save me money on my taxes. I do not go there to get lectured about my blood pressure.
And this right here is the absolute genius of the proposal, in my opinion. It frames health as wealth, and I don't mean that in the cheesy, metaphorical way you see on Instagram. It frames it literally as asset management. Think about the mindset of a fiduciary, a financial advisor. Their entire job is based on three things. Baseline, what do you have right now? Strategy, how do we grow it? And measurement, your quarterly reports.
They're totally allergic to vibes.
You want hard data.
Right. If I walked into my financial advisor's office and said, hey, I feel like my stocks are up this month, he'd laugh me out of the building.
Exactly. So Scott is pitching this health tool to them as a way to drastically deepen the client relationship. The logic goes like this. Mr. Client, we have done a fantastic job managing your financial assets, but your most critical asset, the actual vehicle that allows you to enjoy that wealth, is your physical body.
And right now, that asset is completely unmanaged.
Yes.
Oof. It's such a compelling pitch. Basically telling a client you're saving for a retirement that you might not even be healthy enough to enjoy.
It elevates the advisor from just a money manager to a holistic life advisor.
Yeah.
But there is a deep psychological link here, too. Discipline is transferable. The source material makes this argument that the discipline required to track your biomarkers and improve your health is the exact same mental muscle required to track your spending and build wealth.
So by helping a client fix their health drift, the advisor is actually training them to be a better financial client overall.
You are reinforcing a data-centered mindset across the board. You're teaching them that ignoring the numbers leads to disaster, whether those numbers are in your arteries or your bank account. It's all about stopping the drift.
It really redefines what wealth even means in the context of Scott's book, Life is Rich. It seems like he's saying wealth is actually just capacity.
That's a really great way to put it. Wealth is the capacity to live the life you want. Money provides the financial capacity. Health provides the physical capacity.
Right.
If you have $5 million in the bank, but you're stuck in a hospital bed because you ignored your health data for 20 years, are you rich?
I mean, technically yes, but experientially no.
Scott would say absolutely not. You are bankrupt in the currency of vitality.
Man. And then there's the third group. They target HR and corporate wellness directors. This one feels a bit more traditional, but the measurement angle seems to solve a very specific headache for corporations.
The ROI headache. Companies pour millions of dollars into employee wellness programs. They buy everyone Fitbits, they subsidize gym memberships, but they have absolutely no idea if any of it actually works.
Right. It's usually just a perk they slap on the job description. We have a ping pong table and a wellness stipend.
Exactly. But eventually the CFO looks at that massive line item and asks, what are we actually getting for this money? This initiative gives the HR director a concrete answer. They can say, we are getting a 12% reduction in cardiovascular risk factors across our workforce.
It turns a sunk expense into an investment with a measurable return.
Yes.
I want to circle back to the participant experience for a minute. We've talked a lot about the leaders and the organizers, but let's talk about the person actually going through the 90 days. The proposal uses this phrase, see change they can touch and feel.
Which is interesting because, ironically, you can't feel your cholesterol dropping. But you can hold the printed report in your hands. That's what they mean by touch and feel.
It's the scorecard concept.
Yes. And we have to talk about the behavioral psychology of the scorecard. Humans are hardwired for feedback loops. If you go bowling and you roll a strike, you see the pins go down immediately, you get that hit of dopamine.
Immediate reward.
But in health, the feedback loop is usually way too long. You jog today, you might lose half a pound in 2 weeks.
Or you jog today and your knees just hurt tomorrow, which is negative feedback.
Exactly. So people quit. But the scorecard, that concrete before and after lab report, gamifies the entire process. It turns your internal biology into a project that can be managed and tracked. The proposal actually describes this not as a product, but as an evidence tool.
An evidence tool.
It provides the undeniable evidence that your daily effort actually matters. And for the leader, the pastor, or the CPA we talked about, it allows them to facilitate this massive transformation without having to be the health expert.
That is a crucial point. The CPA doesn't have to know how to read a lipid panel, right?
No, and they absolutely shouldn't. That would be a huge liability nightmare. The system itself handles the medical expertise, the labs handle the blood, the leader simply provides the framework and the community.
Just plug and play.
The proposal heavily emphasizes that this empowers the leader. It allows them to attach an evidence-based tool to their existing voice without competing with their core offering.
So the pastor gets to just stay a pastor. The CPA stays a CPA. They are just acting as the bridge to the solution.
They are the catalyst. They're essentially saying to their people, I care about you enough to bring this powerful tool to our community.
Let's zoom out a bit as we get near the end here. We've been talking specifically about this 90-day health program, but the concept of drift feels like it applies to way more than just cholesterol and fasting glucose.
It's the central thesis of the whole thing. Desire without measurement produces drift. That is a comprehensive life philosophy, not just a catchy health slogan.
It really makes me think about my own life. Like, where else am I drifting right now? In my relationships, my career skills.
Think about it. We would never accept drift in our bank accounts. If you just stopped checking your balance for an entire year, you would panic.
I'd be terrified.
You wouldn't accept drift in your car's gas tank either. You have a literal gauge right there on the dashboard telling you the data. But we accept it in our bodies, our marriages, our personal growth. We rely entirely on vibes in the areas of life that actually matter most.
We just assume that if nothing is actively on fire, everything must be fine.
But inflammation isn't a fire you can see, it's a slow smolder. Drift is a slow smolder. And the absolute only way to stop it is to establish a baseline.
That baseline concept is what's really going to stick with me from this deep dive. It's the humility of actually looking at the data. It is so uncomfortable to admit, okay, this is where I actually am right now.
It's the most courageous thing you can do. You have to be willing to kill the illusion in order to save the asset, whether that asset is your retirement fund or your heart health.
And the connection Nate Scott draws between financial stewardship and physical stewardship is really the linchpin of this whole proposal. It directly challenges that compartmentalization we all do, that mindset of, well, I'm good with money, but I'm just bad with food.
Scott is saying those aren't two different things. They are two expressions of the exact same mindset. Are you an active steward of what you've been given, or are you just drifting through it?
That is a heavy question.
It is. But the solution is surprisingly mechanical. Measure it, track it, retest it, stop guessing.
Stop guessing. I love that. Well, this has been a truly fascinating look at what happens when you apply a strict business mindset to human biology. It certainly made me rethink my own aversion to looking at the hard numbers.
It should. The numbers are friendly, even when they're bad. Because once you know the number, you have the power to change it.
So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you, the listener, with that challenge. We've talked extensively about the hidden problem, that massive gap between wanting health and actually measuring it.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, I'd like to leave everyone with a final, somewhat provocative thought to chew on.
Lay it on us.
We've established today that we have clear metrics for our money. Those are our bank statements. We now see there are clear metrics for our health. Those are our biomarkers. But what if you applied this anti-drift philosophy to the rest of your life?
Great.
What is the lab panel for a good marriage? What is the biomarker for your creativity or your continued learning?
Right.
Because if you can't measure it, you are likely drifting in it. So where in your life are you currently relying on vibes when you should be looking for evidence?
That is the question of the day. Don't just hope you're doing well, find the metric.
Bang.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Nate Scott's Measurable Transformation Initiative. We'll see you next time.
See you then.